Dana White is the president and CEO of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and in 2025, Forbes estimated his net worth at over $600 million. He bought into a sport people called barbaric, built it into a global empire, and turned every dollar of that bet into something that makes most sports executives look like they were playing a different game entirely. So let's get into the rich life of Dana White. Here's the number that puts everything in perspective. In 2001, the mixed martial arts landscape was fractured and stigmatized. The Ultimate Fighting Championship was facing bankruptcy and banned in most states. That's the organization Dana White walked into. That's the one he chose to bet his career on. White identified an opportunity and convinced childhood friends Lorenzo and Frank Fertitta, casino magnates with deep political connections, to acquire the UFC for just $2 million. The critical detail that would define his fortune: he wasn't hired as a mere employee. White was installed as president of the newly formed holding company, Zuffa LLC, and granted a 9% equity stake. 9% doesn't sound like much until you watch what happened next. The UFC didn't immediately have success after the Zuffa takeover, and by 2004, the Fertittas had invested over $40 million into the company without attaining significant growth or reaching profitability. Most people would have called it. Dana didn't. White, alongside the Fertittas and television producer Craig Piligian, developed the idea of an MMA-based reality series, The Ultimate Fighter, as an attempt to create interest in the sport. The company self-funded the show because TV networks refused to pay for it. The finale fight between Stephan Bonnar and Forrest Griffin is credited for having saved the UFC. That one fight night, that one moment of two guys leaving everything in the cage, it changed the trajectory of the entire business. Under White's leadership, UFC 66, headlined by Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz, generated over 100 pay-per-view buys, and by 2008, the company was valued by Forbes at $1.1 billion, from near bankruptcy to a billion-dollar valuation in 7 years. And White was holding 9% of all of it. Under his leadership, White transformed the UFC from a niche, struggling organization into a global MMA powerhouse. His tenure saw the UFC's expansion into international markets, the signing of lucrative television and sponsorship deals, and a significant increase in its fan base and revenue. Now, what makes Dana's story different from most executives? Most people in his position would have cashed out early, taken the money, and disappeared. He didn't. He stayed. He kept grinding, and he kept accumulating. White, having signed a 7-year contract with ESPN in 2019, remains a pivotal figure in the UFC's ongoing success. That ESPN deal was a major turning point. It was the moment MMA stopped being a sport you had to search for and started being something you stumbled across on a Saturday night. Then came the moment that rewrote his financial story entirely. Dana's financial breakthrough came in 2016, when the Fertitta brothers sold the UFC for just under $4 billion. White sold his 9% stake in the company, earning approximately $360 million after taxes. Although he no longer owned a significant portion of the UFC, White remained as CEO, continuing to earn a lucrative salary and maintaining influence over the organization's direction. This sale significantly boosted his net worth, establishing him as one of the wealthiest figures in sports management. Think about that. He came in on a $2 million deal. He walked away with $360 million. And then, in a move that very few people saw coming, he stayed. That sale transformed him from a successful sports executive into one of the wealthiest figures in sports promotion. Even afterward, he stayed in charge of UFC operations and remained the organization's public face, and the money kept coming. White remained president after the sale and was named CEO of the company. In 2023, following a reorganization of the ownership structure into TKO Group Holdings. In December 2025, he signed a 5-year contract extension, securing his position through 2031. The timing of that extension coincided with the announcement of a $7.7 billion broadcast rights deal with Paramount Plus, representing a strategic shift from the traditional pay-per-view model to a subscription streaming approach. Paramount will pay an average of $1.1 billion annually, ensuring stable revenue streams that drive White's performance bonuses for the remainder of his tenure. So he sold his stake in 2016 for hundreds of millions, kept his salary, locked in a contract through 2031, and just signed off on one of the biggest broadcast deals in combat sports history. That's not luck. That's a man who understands leverage. Compared to most league commissioners and sports executives, White sits in a rare financial tier. Very few non-athletes in sports reach half-billion status, especially without founding the organization themselves. He didn't found the UFC, he found it half dead on the side of the road and brought it back to life. Then he got paid like he'd built it from scratch. Because in every way that matters, he did. Now here's the thing, most people don't talk about when they run the Dana White numbers. The $360 million payday from 2016 is the headline. But what built his net worth to over $600 million wasn't just that one transaction. It was everything that came after. As president of the UFC, White reportedly earns a base salary of around $20 million per year, with additional performance bonuses tied to pay-per-view sales and company growth. $20 million a year, every year, on top of what he already pocketed. His executive compensation includes base salary estimated between $3 and $5 million, performance bonuses tied to media rights revenue, and TKO Group Holdings equity awards. He also receives an annual retainer of $350 to $450 in cash and stock units for his role on Meta's board of directors. Right, Meta. We'll get to that. The UFC's business model under White became a machine. He helped broker lucrative sponsorships, dominated the pay-per-view fighting space, and recently collaborated with ESPN on a streaming deal worth around $1.5 billion. The organization he co-purchased for $2 million became a property worth billions. Because White understood something the original owners didn't, that the product wasn't just fighting. It was entertainment. It was narrative. It was characters. His aggressive promotion style, straight talk, and instinct for star power turned UFC events into must-watch spectacles. White didn't just promote fights. He sold stories, rivalries, and moments. Every Conor McGregor press conference, every trash talk moment, every weigh-in face-off that went sideways. Dana White was in the room feeding it, producing it, turning a cage fight into something people genuinely couldn't look away from. And every one of those moments had a dollar value attached to it. His ownership structure in TKO Holdings and recurring income from UFC events kept his net worth solid even in quieter years. And TKO isn't a small operation. Under the umbrella of TKO Group Holdings, which also owns WWE, Dana's role has expanded. He's no longer just a promoter. He's a high-level executive in a publicly traded company. That position gives him access to stock options and other financial perks that regular employees don't get. Then there's Zuffa Boxing. In March 2025, White announced a partnership with Turki Al-Sheikh, head of Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority, to create a new boxing league named Zuffa Boxing, modeled after the UFC. The UFC's parent company, TKO Group Holdings, and the Saudi entertainment conglomerate Sela were announced as backers of the venture. White was named as executive leader of the league. Zuffa Boxing held its first numbered event in January 2026, hosted at the Meta Apex in Las Vegas, headlined by a bout between Callum Walsh and Carlos Ocampo. And just like that, Dana White is in the boxing business, doing for boxing what he did for MMA 20 years ago. TKO Boxing is under his umbrella and is making moves in the boxing promotion space. Dana has ownership in and helps to promote Happy Dad and Howler Head Whiskey. So he's not just selling fights, he's selling the culture around the fights. The drinks people toast with at fight parties, the brands they wear, the energy around the entire lifestyle of being an MMA fan. Beyond UFC, he's diversified his financial portfolio, recently joining the board of Meta, signaling his interest in social media, AI, and broader business ventures. That Meta board seat is worth paying attention to. In January 2025, Meta officially announced that Dana White joined its board of directors, proving his influence now goes beyond sports. These big roles show how Dana's power is still growing, which directly increases his long-term wealth. Think about the full picture here. He's running the UFC. He's building Zuffa Boxing from scratch. He's on the board of one of the most powerful technology companies on the planet. He's got a whiskey brand. He's got a seltzer brand. As of early 2026, Dana White's estimated net worth sits at approximately $600 million, a significant jump from previous years, fueled by the UFC's massive growth and its new broadcast deals. He isn't a billionaire yet, but his financial trajectory suggests he is well on his way. He also possesses a Plymouth Barracuda muscle car, a BMW M6 Grand Cup, and a Bombardier private jet that symbolizes his status as a high-flying executive. That jet became the subject of a memorable prank orchestrated by Mike Tyson, who famously surprised White while he was sleeping on board. If you're the kind of person Mike Tyson pranks on your own private jet, you've made it. Then there are the vacations. White even goes on vacation on a 377-foot AHPO yacht. That costs $2.8 million a week, per week. That's not renting a nice boat, that's a floating hotel. The kind of vessel that has its own crew, its own chefs, and its own level of excess that takes a second to actually register. With his wealth, White indulges in a lifestyle characterized by luxury. From extravagant birthday celebrations for his son, where he famously spent $1 million, to lavish purchases like private cruise ships and exotic sports cars, his spending is something else entirely. And yet none of this is random. His spending reflects confidence, not chaos. Most purchases double as long-term investments. That $1.65 million home in 2006, that's now worth $50 million, is the clearest proof of that. Dana White doesn't buy things to show off. He buys things because he can see what they'll be worth later. As a sneaker enthusiast, White maintains a unique approach to his collection, spending $100 annually on luxury kicks. Even the sneakers have their own budget line. At this level of wealth, that's essentially a rounding error, but it tells you everything about a man who still cares deeply about the details. If the mansions and the jet are the polished side of Dana White's rich life, then the gambling is the raw, unfiltered version. And honestly, it might be the most entertaining chapter of all of it. White is a recreational gambler. He plays high-stakes blackjack and has been limited from playing at multiple casinos in Las Vegas. He states he plays $75 a hand, and if he wins the first couple of hands, he takes the profit and leaves. That's the strategy. Simple, clinical, walk in, hit hard, walk out. He's been playing both blackjack and baccarat, placing between $30 and $75 on single hands of blackjack, and around $300 to $400 per hand of baccarat. These high-stakes games remain his preferred go-to option. White stated in 2024 that he plays high-stakes baccarat and wagers up to $350 per hand at Caesars Palace. And that's not even his ceiling. He's mentioned wanting to amp up his gambling to $1 million per single hand, and that he'd need a casino to grant him a $30 million credit line to do that. But there's hardly any property in the world that would agree to such a demand. He's literally too much for most casinos to handle, and the casinos themselves have made that abundantly clear. White's own explanation is sharp. "It's not that I'm banned from casinos, it's just that they don't want me to play there," he explained. "They won't give me the limits that I want because they don't like to lose. The Palms has kicked me out twice. The Mirage, the Wynn won't let me play. The only places in town that take really big play are Caesars Palace, the Bellagio, and the Venetian." The Palms ban became legendary after the Palms lost $1.6 million to White in one session. Casino bosses became concerned. They sent him a UFC-style championship belt with a note asking him not to return to the tables. White still has the belt. In his UFC office, you literally get awarded a championship belt for winning too much money. That only happens to Dana White. Joe Rogan has claimed that White has won over $7 million in a single night's hot streak, but also suffered some major losses as well. The losses are real too. White has openly discussed losing millions during gambling trips, including one night where he reportedly lost around $3 million while drinking and playing cards in Rio. His right-hand man, Hunter Campbell, has pleaded with him to quit gambling, as he's lost as much as $3 million in one night. One night, gone. And White's response is essentially a shrug and a grin, because at $600 million, $3 million hurts, but it doesn't define you. There's one scene that captures the whole thing perfectly. Joe Rogan has detailed White's gambling firsthand. On a podcast, he described the time he went to visit White at a casino, and when they arrived, White was already down $600 zero. I was getting anxiety just sitting there watching, Rogan said. In another session captured on camera for 60 minutes, White was betting $400, zero hands at Baccarat. A few hands in and he was down $1.2 million. I'm a sick guy. That's the only explanation I can give you, he said. Despite being in that hole, he finished the session up $700, zero, and walked out carrying his winnings. That's the thing about Dana White at the casino. He's not just gambling, he's performing. He knows the story he's in. He's the UFC boss, the big personality, the guy who built a sport from nothing, and he brings that exact energy to the blackjack table. His reputation in Las Vegas, and especially among the top brass at casinos, comes from his style of play. He's what's known in the business as a short stop, turning up frequently but staying for only a few high-stakes hands per session and walking away if he's ahead. According to The Hollywood Reporter, a Netflix production crew has been following White around for an unscripted project about his gambling. Netflix hasn't officially announced the project yet, which means even his gambling habit is becoming a content empire, because of course it is. According to THR, White could be the most prolific gambler in Las Vegas, even surpassing rumors around Bruno Mars. The man who built the UFC also built a second life in the casinos of the city he lives in, and both of those lives operate at a level most people will never see up close. For all the jets and the Baccarat tables and the compound in Las Vegas, there's a version of Dana White that exists far from the octagon lights, and it's worth understanding because it explains why none of the excess consumed him. White was born in Manchester, Connecticut. He's an Irish American who spent many of his early years in Massachusetts. He and his sister Kelly were raised by their mother and her family for the majority of their childhoods. His mother was a nurse, and the family moved to Las Vegas when White was in 3rd grade. Vegas offered higher wages for nurses. That detail matters. His mother moved the family chasing better money as a nurse. Dana would later move the same city chasing a different kind of money, and he'd find it in amounts she couldn't have imagined. White has stated he left Boston to return to Las Vegas in the early 1990s after being threatened by mobster Whitey Bulger and his associate, Kevin Weeks. The story goes that Bulger's crew said he owed them money, and White didn't have it. He got a call warning him the debt was due by 1 o'clock the next day. He hung up the phone, called Delta, and bought a ticket to Vegas. The man who would one day wager $1 million at a blackjack table once fled Boston over a $2,500 debt. That's the arc. That's the full distance of the journey. In Las Vegas, White continued running boxer-sized gyms and began training jiu-jitsu alongside Lorenzo Fertitta and his older brother Frank Fertitta III. He had reconnected with the Fertitta brothers after meeting Lorenzo. At a mutual friend's wedding, they hadn't spoken in 10 years. Prior to that encounter, one wedding, 2 old acquaintances who hadn't spoken in a decade. And out of that conversation came the deal that would eventually be worth $4 billion. Life really does turn on the smallest moments. Through all of it, there has been one constant. Ann White met Dana in school and married him in 1996. They have 3 children together. She stays away from the media, and keeps her life private. Dana has often said that Ann is the biggest reason behind his success, supporting him throughout his stressful career and helping keep his family stable. Together, they raised 3 children while navigating immense public pressure. Despite fame, White protects his inner circle. That privacy allows him to operate with clarity in high-stress environments. There were public difficulties at a 2023 New Year's Eve party. At a nightclub in Mexico, White was seen arguing with his wife. Ann slapped him, and then he slapped her back, and it was caught on camera. Both took responsibility, blaming it on alcohol, and apologized for their actions. That moment ricocheted across the internet and put real pressure on his public standing. It was one of the few times the Dana White armor cracked visibly in front of the world. But the family stayed together, and White kept building. In 2011, his mother June released a book about him, claiming that since his success with the UFC, Dana had turned his back on his family and friends who were there for him when he needed help and support. It's a version of the story that never gets much airtime next to the $600 million net worth, but it's part of the full picture. When you move at the speed Dana White moves, not everyone can keep up. Not everyone travels with you to the top. In May 2012, White revealed he'd been diagnosed with Meniere's disease, an inner ear disorder. It's like vertigo, but on steroids, he said. He believes the disease was brought on by a serious fight he was involved in during his youth, so even physically, the grind left marks. White underwent orthokine treatment for the condition in 2013, which he says has greatly reduced his symptoms. He fixed it, just like he's fixed everything else that stood in the way of where he wanted to go. And the place he wanted to go keeps getting bigger. Even in 2025, Dana White is far from slowing down. His recent decision to join Meta's board of directors shows his forward-thinking approach to business. He's already locked in through 2031 at the UFC. He's co-founding a boxing league backed by Saudi money. He's sitting at the table of the biggest technology company in the world. He's not a billionaire yet, but with his current investments and the growth of the UFC, many experts believe he could reach that status in the future. The kid who fled Boston with $2,500 in debt, who taught aerobics to pay rent, who co-bought a bankrupt fight promotion for next to nothing. He's sitting on $600 million and building a boxing league modeled after the empire he already created once. The rich life of Dana White isn't just about what he owns, it's about what that ownership represents. Every jet, every casino hand, every mansion in Nevada, it's all proof of a bet that nobody thought would pay off except him. Dana White net worth, celebrity net worth. Dana White net worth 2025. Punsters. How much is Dana White's net worth as of 2024? Sportskeeda. Dana White and Ann White combined net worth in 2025. MSN Dana White net worth 2025. How UFC's boss built his fortune magazine AI. Dana White net worth 2025. Sports Illustrated. Dana White net worth $500 million in 2024. Finance Monthly Dana White. Wikipedia. Net worth Dana White. How the UFC president built a $500 million fortune. Radio Guide FM Dana White net worth in 2026. Celebrity there. Dana White net worth 2026. Magazine. Dana White UFC's net worth. Parade Dana White net worth 2026. Dave Manuel. Dana White's extravagant spending habits. Explored the Sportster. Dana White net worth 2026. Inside the UFC CEO's $600 million fortune. CEO Today magazine. Dana White bought $50 million Vegas mansion for shockingly low price. Sports Illustrated. How many houses does Dana White own? Essentially Sports Dana White net worth 2025. Inside the UFC president's $500 million empire. News Fandom. Why UFC boss Dana White is the most untouchable whale in Las Vegas. The Hollywood Reporter. Dana White's gambling wins and losses. The full story. Casino guru UFC boss's blackjack skill ends in Vegas casino ban. Gambling news. Dana White lost over $1 million during a gambling session before bouncing back. Bloody elbow. UFC boss Dana White explains why he is banned from Las Vegas casinos. Sport Bible. Dana White Gambling Debt, Netflix series on blackjack losses, gambling harm, https://gamblingharm.org, Dana White Gambling